Backstreet Boys there. That's Larger Than Life. Yes, it's me, it's Michael, and it's Saturday morning, so it's my Saturday soundtrack. Thank you for listening to Sheffield Hospital Radio. And thank you to Paul for the last couple of hours. You've got me now. So whether you're a patient on one of our wards, whether you're a member of staff working for us today, or maybe it's your weekend off, or maybe you're just out and about around Sheffield or further afield, thanks for tuning in. We're going to have a good couple of hours, and I know it's going to be a good couple of hours because I've got a professional with me today. Ellie Colton off BBC Radio Sheffield. Welcome.
Welcome. Hello. It's so exciting to be here. I cannot wait for the next 2 hours. We're going to rock everybody's world with great conversation, brilliant music, and a lot of laughs along the way as well, I'm absolutely sure. We've got some, well, we have to be reflective for this next tune, don't we, Michael? Because we have just lost the queen, the great of rock music and ballads. It's our Bonnie Tyler with Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Brill. Thanks, Ellie. We'll hear more from you later. Keep on listening. And if you want to pick the songs, you know you can do. Classic Bonnie there. Do you like a bit of that, Bonnie, Ellie?
I love Bonnie Tyler. It is my favourite Prosecco tune. So last night, it's usually for me a couple of bottles of Prosecco. Not too extreme, over a few hours. I mean, that does sound extreme. And then I become my dad, where I start putting on 80s icons on YouTube on the telly and just singing along to it. So, yeah, that's what I usually do. Bonnie's always on the list.
Well, we'll make sure we've got some more 80s coming up. And I often have a sing-along anthem on. I usually put it on towards the kind of last couple of hours of my show. We've got it on early, but we'll get a few more anthems that we can sing along to there. But welcome, Ellie. Seriously, I feel under immense pressure, but you're putting me at ease because you are a professional. So for people that don't know you, tell us, I mean, this is probably a bit of a lie-in for you, is it, compared to usual? Because you're usually on BBC Radio Sheffield pretty early in the morning.
Yeah, so my Monday to Friday is I have to get up at 3:30. It is absolutely astonishingly awful. It's such a shock to the system. People think that you get used to it and you don't. But I do the breakfast show 6 a.m. till 10 a.m. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at BBC Radio Sheffield, 54 Shoreham Street. That's where we're based. And it's an amazing show. I've been doing it 3 years in November. I took over from the icon Toby Foster, who was a veteran of breakfast radio in Sheffield, going head to head with Hallam FM when it was on. It's now Hits Radio. You see, so much has changed over the last couple of years. Toby now does the afternoon show, which is a regional show across Yorkshire. So he's got all these extra people listening in, but he epitomises Yorkshire, doesn't he? So they were looking for somebody else to fill the breakfast show slot, and I'd been freelancing, working my little backside off for 6 years before that, doing stuff at Manchester, Nottingham, Stoke, Leeds, and of course Sheffield. I'd had a few shows on there. I was always covering everybody because, you know, you never say no to anybody or anything. You always say yes. And then all of a sudden I was thrown into this world of breakfast radio, and it's been a wild ride, Michael. It has. But how long have you been doing this?
Yeah, well, it's not so wild. I've been doing this for a year now, a year and about 3 weeks. I had my anniversary show with Kirsten, our chief executive, 3 or 4 weeks ago. So yeah, might not look like it, but it has been a year now. So
that's kind of,
yeah, it is. But I mean, the breakfast show, is that not the kind of the one that you want on any station? Would it be?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the flagship show, and it's always the one that people listen to the most as well, which is, I find it a bit intimidating if I go to think about all the people that are listening in, you know, like you do. You get nervous and everything, but it's like working nights, you know, getting up being in the studio at 4:30, because that's what people don't realise. Well, you're on air at 6, why are you getting up at 3:30? Well, I stick false eyelashes on and I have to be there at 4:30. But it's all those people that are listening, like tens of thousands of people, and it's so exciting. But when you're sat in the studio and you might have only 1 or 2 guests over the 4 hours that actually come in, you just think you're talking to one person, and that's the art, isn't it? You have to always think, I'm just talking to one person.
One listener. they?
Exactly,
Yeah.
because you got to make every single thing that you say relatable or funny or interesting, and always think, what is that one person getting out of this, that kind of thing. But it's the big show, and I feel very lucky to be doing it. I can't believe it, honestly. I'm like you feel a right imposter, don't you?
Do.
But it's so exciting.
And it sounds like you still get, because there is quite a thrill when it's kind of you're live and you're on air. You're obviously still getting that, and you still get that at 6 a.m. of the morning.
Yeah.
That's some start to the day, some boost to the day.
It is. It's really... it's hard not to feel terrible when you get up at that time, don't get me wrong. But then as soon as you're actually in the studio, like you must feel, you just think, this is amazing. I can't believe I'm here. I feel so lucky. But you get nervous and sort of wobbly and a bit like you sound like you're going to cry, that sort of thing. That's gone a little bit for me now, because when you are just sat in the studio and you just think about that one person listening, you're not thinking, if everybody that was listening was sat in an arena, it'd be a different story. But when you just sort of sat there, it's exciting now more than nerve-wracking, So you just enjoy and think about all the people that listen after the fact. So when you're sat at home with your dog, you're just scrolling Instagram and you've got like new followers and you think, people do listen. That's amazing.
And tell me, because I'm the son of a milkman, so I spent my kind of weekends and my summer holidays getting up at 3 a.m. and delivering milk around the streets of Sheffield. There's something quite magical about Sheffield at that time, and you are from Sheffield, is that right? So how does it feel being up at that time, getting off fellow Sheffield people's day to a fantastic start?
It's really amazing, because for me, one of the best things is driving to work and it's 4:15 and everything is so quiet, apart from the odd drunks or the people that run the streets at that time. I know everybody's names. Sometimes I have to get petrol at 4:20 in the morning. That's always an experience, and they've always got a story to tell. But it's so calming and beautiful at just driving at that time. Sometimes it's really sunny, apart from in the winter when you're de-icing your car at 4 o'clock. That sucks the fun out of it. But otherwise, it's just gorgeous, and you get in and you're not feeling, even though it's right, we've got to get this script done, this guest done, you might have a pre-record at 5 a.m, blah, 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 all that kind of thing. You just feel really calm. Whereas somebody who gets up at 6:30 and it's straight away busy traffic, getting in, you've not even got time to make a coffee, that feels so much more rushed for me. But it's amazing. I mean, I'm from Woodseats, Abbey Lane area, and I grew up there, went to Abbey Lane School, Meadowhead School, I went to Sheffield Hallam and did a journalism course. But I was always wanting to do journalism, so I was writing for my local paper, Active 8, Heron Publications in the S8 area, doing a voluntary article once a month. And that's actually what got me my first connection to Radio Sheffield. But now I live in High Green, so I've gone from the opposite end because it's too expensive in southern Sheffield. That's the problem, isn't it?
So I want to come on and kind of hear about that journey, and particularly then some of your guests that you have on, because one of the things I love about this show is listening to people. So I'd love to hear about some of the guests that you've had on the show. But should we play a song and then come back? I mentioned my dad earlier. This is a song he's asked for, because my son he's at university doing journalism, but he's looking for a weekend job, so he's got an interview at McDonald's. So my dad thought this would be a good song for him. It's Hello from Adele.
Aww.
If you're tuning in for the first time, don't forget Sheffield Hospital Radio is broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can listen at www.sheffieldhospitalradio.co.uk, or just ask your your smart speaker to play Sheffield Hospital Radio. So I'm here with Ellie Colton off the radio.
Hello.
We talked a bit just before that last song about guests and kind of how fantastic it is to have someone to chat to, and how much I'm absolutely enjoying chatting to you. You have a much broader range of guests on your show. Who are the ones that kind of stick out in your mind? Or
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, there are so many. I can tell you the ones that I can't believe I've actually spoken to.
Really?
Fatboy Slim, first of all. He's going to be at Tramlines, and I'm going to be DJing at Tramlines next Friday, which is hilarious because I can't really DJ, to be honest. But what's worse is when you speak to somebody and you do the whole, I am so excited to speak to you, I'm such a big fan. and then you ask them a question and they're like, where have you got that from? Because I had that experience with Fatboy Slim. So it was actually when I was working on Radio Manchester, and the producer put in a question that was like, tell us about your latest release. And it was something, this big press release. So I said, tell us about this latest release of yours. And he was like, you need to sack your producer. I don't have any latest release. And my heart fell out my bum, because I was thinking, oh my gosh, like I've just come on and given the whole whiz about, I love you, blah, 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 you know. And then he must have thought it was all fake. But I had him. I spoke to Jarvis Cocker. Right. Whoa, that was amazing. Before they were the surprise guest at Glastonbury, weren't they? And then Tramlines as well. And speaking to him, I had 20 minutes with him. And you usually only have about 6 minutes with somebody like that. And he was so cool and gave me so much of his time. And I thought that Jarvis Cocker was quite evasive of interviews, and he was a bit shy and he didn't really buy into it, but he was so lovely, so
and
brilliant.
Did he want to be there, do you think? Because I mean, he's been doing that for whatever, 30, 40 plus years. Yeah. Is he not bored of that bit?
Well, that's what you worry about, isn't it? And I think, how many questions can you change? It's all the same questions getting thrown at you, but because they brought out the new album, which I've forgotten the name of, which is so terrible of me,
Something Lands, is it?
Something. It's something, isn't it? We'll have to Google it there, won't we, quickly, and bring it to people. But I speak to Nick Banks a lot, the drummer in Pulp. He's very out there and on the radio, and we'll do all these different interviews and things, but then Jarvis is really hard to get hold of. But I think he'd done a whole day of Radio 2, and my producer Kevin had worked so hard, like, please don't forget your roots, please come and do BBC Radio Sheffield. So we did him, and gosh, there's been so many people. I spoke to John Bishop. And it's really hilarious. I can say this now as a 27-year-old, and it doesn't sound weird, but even when I was a little bit younger, I've got a big crush on John Bishop. So when I saw him, I was thinking, I can't believe it. You know, I didn't know what to say because I was freaking out that it was John Bishop, and I was probably about 21. And I'm sure, like, his sons were my age, so he didn't want a 21-year-old sort of like being like, I love you. So when I spoke to him, all I could think to say was, my mum loves you. Can I have a picture with you? Because I didn't want to say, I love you, because it was true and it was frightening. So many, we do a lot. Tom Daly, but then my boyfriend is an Olympic diver. I know, what a flex, Michael. And he's friends with Tom Daly. So when he was doing all the Game of Wool stuff, which is the wool version of Bake Off, we did an interview with Tom Daly. I mean, there's so many different people. A lot of them are social media influencers as well that not everybody knows. But it's an amazing job for that reason. But you have to keep you cool. You can't be that crazed fan inside. And I find that hard to switch off sometimes.
And then I presume you also get the, Beth from Woodhouse kind of thing, or Mabel from the Manor kind of thing. So weird and wonderful stories, and that's their first time on the radio, kind of those extremes. There's our usual people that tune in, like we've got Gary in Chesterfield, Neil in Norton, Bev in Killermarsh, Donna in Walkley. I mean, it could go on and on and on. There's so many different people, Robin Shire Green. And then you've got people that come on for that really excites me as somebody, because you can check if they've messaged in before. You could do a little bit of a cheeky online stalk. So when somebody's messaging for the first time, I would say, it's so exciting. It's like the Hotel California now, unfortunately, that you can come anytime, but you can never leave. So don't be a stranger now. We'll send out a search party for you. And just having those first people that message in, or of course, when somebody's coming for an interview because something, the fundraising or something awful's happened to them, and they get so nervous, don't they? They're sort of like, oh gosh, I've never been on the radio before. I don't know what I'm doing. Or I don't know what I'm going to say. And I always think, you're here because of your story. You don't need to rehearse that. You know what you're going to say. You just sort of put them at ease. But it's a job that changes every day. Every day's different. And I mean, when Keir Starmer resigned the other day, I knew it was coming. We had him we've got a telly in the studio, so I had him on the BBC News channel, and then I knew I'm going to have to fill for 40 minutes now because he's going to resign, and you're not going to go to a song because you're waiting for him to come out, so you're just saying, right, and all you're doing is relaying what you can see on the TV, and you've got a politics expert with you waiting in the wings to sort of fill in. I'm thinking, I've run out of questions here. How many questions can I ask this guy about Keir Starmer's legacy and if he's going to... And then finally he came out and we went to the news channel, so it was broadcasting what he was saying, and then we come back and do a bit of analysis. That's the excitement of it all, isn't it, really? And I could talk for England, as you can hear. Well, I mean, and I was going to ask, what's the skill or experience that makes you good at that? Is it because you can talk for England and you can put anybody at ease, or is there some formula, teaching, education that's got you there? What makes you good at it?
Oh, it's a good question, Michael. I hope nobody's listening from Sheffield Hallam University, because I'd already got my way in, and I can tell you the story about that if you want, of how I actually got in with Radio Sheffield before I'd gone to university. So actually going to university didn't give me, which sounds awful, help if anybody's listening, but it didn't actually give me a start or a help or like sort of like a leg up into the industry, because I'd already got in there. So I had a good time at uni. You know, you do 6 hours of seminars a week and you go and have a drink and you party and that sort of thing. But it didn't give me, I got the qualification, I got the degree, but it didn't give me any of that sort of knowledge about things, really, because I was already learning it on the job. And that's the best thing about being in a newsroom. You've got people writing for online, you've got people making social videos, people doing Look North and people doing radio, and you just absorb so much. I think the biggest thing is being down to earth, which a down to earth person would not say, would they? I always find that a bit of a sort of like double-edged sword. And just being a normal person, wanting to communicate with people, being genuinely interested in their stories, not thinking that you're better than people or that you, I don't know, have to have a certain way about you to interview people. You don't. You just have to. It's like working in customer service. You just got to be able to speak to people. That's my biggest thing, really, isn't it? Yeah.
And listen, isn't it? It's that kind of, that's the bit. It's like, actually, as you say that, asking a question to listen, to understand, not kind of going through the motions. I find that's a bit I absolutely enjoy. You learn so much about things that you think you might know about or know nothing about. And absolutely fantastic. And we'll come on to those subjects that I hold my hands up. You've been very, you've online presence around some of your health conditions, so endometriosis and celiac disease. So really keen to kind of hear a bit about some of those, if that's okay.
Of course.
But should we do, we've had a request in. Do you want to kind of introduce this next song? Now, we don't have the functionality to check if Alicia has requested before, but do you want to do a shout out for her and introduce her song?
Yeah, I'd love to. Hello, Alicia. Thank you so much for getting in touch. She says, hi, it's Alicia at the Royal Hallamshire Hospital. Please can you play Walking on Sunshine by Katrina and the Waves for all my family and friends, to thank them for all their love, support and encouragement during my stay in hospital, and a big thanks to all the lovely staff.
Nelly Furtado there. I'm like a bird. You're listening to me. It's Michael. It's my Saturday soundtrack. Thank you for joining in on Sheffield Hospital Radio. And this week we've got a brilliant guest. It's Ellie off the radio.
Hello.
Off the other radio, Radio Sheffield. But we touched on earlier, massive presence online, and you're very open and talk about your health conditions. So why have you taken that route of talking about them online? Give us a flavour of that for people that haven't seen you.
Oh, a flavour. Well, I'm on Instagram at Ellie Colton, and that is something that I take very seriously, my Instagram account. I know people think, oh, well, we're chronically online, we need to get offline, social media is a bad thing. But actually, if you use it properly, not just being an influencer with 1 million followers posing in a bikini, vlogging skincare, if you use it to influence people positively, it's a great thing. So I was very nervous about talking about my endometriosis, particularly online, because I think the majority, unfortunately, of women with endometriosis, they have a terrible experience with it, not just taking 10 plus years to get diagnosed in the first place because of all sorts of reasons. I know I'm on hospital radio and you're fabulous and I love the Northern and the Hallamshire, so that's great. But unfortunately, it's getting dismissed by people at the hospitals or GPs, or things getting missed, or just the general intelligence and knowledge around endometriosis isn't passed on, unfortunately, or forced on medical professionals in terms of you need to know this and train on this properly. So they don't actually know how to spot all the different signs. And I've just thought, you know what, I'm a bit sick of this now. I'm going to go online and talk about it, and I'm going to raise awareness of all the different symptoms. A lot of people don't know that endometriosis isn't just a gynecological condition. It's a full body system-wide issue. You can have, if you go on the NHS website, it says on there that endometriosis is pain during or after the act of intercourse. I'll say that. It's all right, isn't it, to say that? It's medical. Heavy bleeding, headaches and abdominal pain, and that is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so many different symptoms of endometriosis, from joint pain to digestive issues to joint swelling, intolerances with food, vitamin deficiencies, all these different things, shoulder tip pain, having issues with your lungs, because endometriosis doesn't just arrive. If you don't know what it is, I should probably say that. Endometriosis is when tissue similar to the lining of the womb grows in places it shouldn't, and it causes immense pain, nerve pain, all these other issues. But it's been found all over the body, like the brain, the heart, the lungs, the nose. There are women who have endometriosis and have a nosebleed once a month when they have their period. But the problem is people think it's a period condition, and it's not. And that's why I've thought I'm going to stop banging the drum about this now. Stop thinking that it's purely a gynae condition. It's just a heavy period once a month. It's not a cyclical condition. For me, the pain is every single day. Before I came here, I was in awful pain, and I've took some painkillers now, and it has subsided, but it's always there. And it's the fatigue, it's all these different symptoms. So if somebody just turns up at the doctor's and they say, oh, I'm struggling with my periods a little bit, then they might not immediately think it's endometriosis. They might go, well, you're 16, just let them settle down. Or, well, have you tried painkillers? Have you tried changing your contraception? Or if somebody comes in with shoulder tip pain and headaches and fatigue, you wouldn't automatically think, oh, that's endo. And this is all the issues, Michael. But you're the man to speak about this, aren't you? You're the boss of the hospital, pretty much. So, yeah, I just thought I'm going to stop posting about it online and trying to start the conversation, saying, I know that periods are part of this, but it isn't just periods, and we shouldn't be embarrassed about talking about periods because half the population have them. And luckily, off the back of that, the BBC, who I work for, Radio Sheffield, have really engaged with me on that, and I've done stuff for BBC Look North, I've done stuff for BBC Ideas, which is the YouTube side of the BBC that they're trying to push more, doing hopefully a podcast with the BBC about it as well. And yeah, I had a little article in the Yorkshire Post this week, which was nice. Yeah, so I was like, oh, I'll get that online. But even just engaging with the endo community online has been really good for me personally as well, yeah.
And is it because this is a condition that affects a large proportion of women, and but we don't, or kind of sitting outside of that community, don't hear a huge amount about it.
Yeah.
But am I right in saying 1 in 10 women?
1 in 10, right. This is great, Michael. This is like the perfect Saturday morning for me. I do have to stop myself from immediately apologising and saying, oh, sorry if this bores you, but I'm not sorry if it bores you, because it's important. Exactly. It's 1 in 10 women. It's as common as diabetes. It's as common as asthma. There are so many different things we could talk about. People probably know more about celiac disease, which is 1 in every 100, than they do endo, which is 1 in every 10. But the problem is that over the years, and I'm sure you'll be aware of this as well, is that women's pain has been normalised. Women's bodies haven't been experimented on in terms of, oh, we need to see how this medication makes them react, or we need to look at the anatomy of a woman. It's all based off the male anatomy, you know, whether it's how heart attacks appear in people, or how ADHD appears in people. It's all based off the male version of that. So women's healthcare research is it's so far behind where it should be, unfortunately, which is another reason for talking about it. But you will have seen that the NHS greenlighted 2 new endometriosis tests. One of them's a saliva test. They are developing a urine test as well. I was part of that research. All I had to do was wean a cup, though. So it wasn't very exciting. And they're doing one as well where they put all these different electro sort of labels on you, a bit like, you know, in E.T. when they've been dragged out the river, and they're a bit like that, and then they can ping little radars off your stomach, and they can see if you've got endometriosis inside you. So rather than having to wait, I think it's 9 years and 4 months is the average, it could be all sorted in a few weeks. You've got your diagnosis, but then you've got to wait on the waiting list for gynae for 1.5 years, which I know is a problem that hospitals across the UK and probably the world are having as well. So if that is to, I've forgotten what you even asked me. I'm so sorry. I've gone off on a right tangent.
It's just about how widespread it is and how many women are affected by it.
So that was the point I was going to make, is that when these tests get rolled out, if they do, hopefully, because it's just a draft at the moment and we don't know, you know, where they're going to be available or anything like that, it means that it might be more like 1 in 7. It could be more like 1 in 5.
1 in 10 is diagnosed. I'd assume that was a kind of a calculated 1 in 10 are impacted, but not necessarily diagnosed.
So I think it's going to absolutely skyrocket. And then, you know, people go, oh, well, I don't know about endometriosis. I don't know somebody with it. You will walk past hundreds of people that have it every day. So I mark my words, I'll come back on in a year and we'll see if they've been, these tests have been let out. It'll be like more 1 in 7.
And talking about periods, you know, it is a hard thing to do, or some people find hard. A lot of people don't want to listen to that. It's still a taboo amongst many ages, and particularly for men. So going online and talking about something so personal, how did you find that, and how has that been received?
Oh, scary. It is scary. And it's not just all men are scared of tampons. They always use that phrase, which seems a bit ridiculous. And I might come across as a massive radical feminist by saying things like that, but I'm not. Of course, I think women and men should be equal, but it is true. You know, when we get taught about sex and puberty and all that kind of thing in school, Michael, boys aren't taught about tampons and periods. And it's ridiculous because they've got a mum, haven't they? They might have a sister. They might have a daughter later in life. They might have a girlfriend at some point. And I just think it's really, I think we are responsible actually for frightening men about periods to a degree because we don't include them in the conversations. And the reality is, unless you've got endometriosis, when it can be horrific to have a period, they're not scary. It's just a totally natural thing that we can't help but happen, and it just means that, you know, we're able to have a baby in the future. That's the reason for it, right? In the same way that you have other bodily functions and other things that just naturally happen. I always use the phrase with my boyfriend. It's like, oh, come on, you know, because sometimes you get a bit nervous when you meet someone for the first time and you're in a relationship and, oh, I don't really want to go and use the toilet for the first time. You say, well, Kim Kardashian does it. We all do it. It's just a normal bodily function. And I think the age I am now, I'm 28 this year, if I wouldn't have done it at 18 or 19 because I'd still be in uni and school, but now I've got my job and I you know, a lot of my friends do have children and I'm an adult now, even though I might not feel like I am. I just think, gosh, we need to just stop being worried about talking about periods, you know, get over it, it's normal.
And how's it being received? Because my understanding is kind of, particularly online, there's that risk of anyone in the ether can throw abuse back. With it being a subject like this, how's that received online?
Luckily, it's been all positive for me. I have had a few comments about, well, some people who have had hysterectomies. Now, hysterectomy isn't a cure for endometriosis because, as I've said, it's been found all over the body. But some people who have had a hysterectomy have said, oh, actually, it did reduce my pain a little bit. So what you're saying is misinformation about having a hysterectomy doesn't help. Like for some women, it does. That's really the only battle I've had, because I imagine if there was a man in my DM saying to me, Ellie, this is disgusting, they'd just be blocked, or why are you following me in the first place? Why are you engaging with it? But some of it, you know, I'm talking a lot from my experience and what I know of my condition. And unfortunately, there are some women that have been told that, oh, you should just have a hysterectomy at 35 and you'll be sorted, and they have it and it's not helped. It's not helped, and actually, even though it's wrong, they feel less of a woman because they've just had all their inside scooped out, which is horrible but true. So luckily I've not had anything bad, and I think because you get to a point, Michael, where you just think, I just don't care. I just don't care if anyone's got anything bad to say. If they've got something constructive to say, like, well, that wasn't my experience, absolutely fine. But if they're going to be abusive, I mean, I get more strange people just in my DMs anyway from being a radio personality. I can't even get into it, but of all themes, of all natures, men, you know, sending me propositions or asking for things, and that's the inappropriate side of it. It's less, maybe this is scaring them off, actually. Me talking about periods, they just say, oh, I don't want to know about that.
And what about, and just before, because we've got a song then to take us up to the news, but kind of for people listening who maybe are experiencing similar symptoms and unsure about it, heavy periods, those kind of things, what's your advice in terms of your journey and for them in terms of getting the right help and support that they need?
I'll try and do it in 60 seconds for you. My biggest advice is trust your body. Just because, I know we're on hospital radio, but just because a consultant or a GP has said to you, I don't think this is endometriosis, if you still think it is, you go back to the GPs, you go back to the hospitals, you ring the gynae secretary. You do not stop until somebody takes you seriously. And unfortunately, if you are just sent for a scan, my big thing is endometriosis does not always show up on a scan. It shows up on MRIs, but if you're going for an ultrasound or a transvaginal scan, it doesn't always show up on there. And they might say you've got cysts, that's what happened in my experience, and then say, but it's nothing to worry about. That is not true. And I feel like that's the biggest thing, that you need to become an expert on endometriosis, research about it as much as you can, learn about how there's so many more symptoms than just pain during or after intercourse and heavy bleeding. It's a full body disease, fatigue, headaches, joint pain, joint swelling, digestive issues, swollen knees is one for me, food intolerances, problems with vitamins, so many different, bloating as well. I can't believe I've not said that yet. That's a big one for me. Endometriosis bloat makes you look like you're pregnant when you might not be able to have children if you've got fertility problems. So there's so many different things, but I would say keep banging the drum, do not let up, and go into your appointments assured, not nervous, not trying to just let them lead it. You lead it with your symptoms and you say, that I know this isn't right, I need you to help me.
Great.
Mic drop.
Really good advice. So, should we go from that to a bit of Celine Dion to take us up to the news? And we'll come back after the news, really keen then to talk about celiac disease. Welcome back. We're there already. It's hour 2. It's me, Michael. It's Sheffield Hospital Radio, and I've got Ellie with me, and we're having a fantastic conversation. I can't believe we're in hour 2 already. Because when I saw you're on your show for 4 hours, that feels like a long time to fill.
Oh, it's a long time, and we are, because of Ofcom, they've put this on BBC Local Radio. We're not allowed to play music between 7 and half 8. It's got to be full speech radio. Oh, wow. So we are just no time for wheeze, Michael. Yeah. You know, you just got to keep talking and talking and talking, and then I can't wait when 8:35 rolls around and we get to play Starship or something like that. I'm like, all right, just do all my life admin at this point. Oh yeah, I love it. I really love it. Anything 80s. We play all sorts of crazy stuff. We'll play something really, really new like Stella Lefty Boston, which came out a couple of months ago, and then we'll play Prefab Sprout. So there's no rhyme or reasoning with the music that we play on BBC Local Radio, but we love it. It's like the best karaoke party ever, isn't it, really? But yeah, I'm having a great time.
No, I'm having a lovely time, and we'll come on and talk about a few things. But Mahmood, our chair, has messaged in. And I think, because obviously when we'll come on and talk about the Thank You Awards, but you'd met Mahmood before the Thank You Awards, or you met him at the Thank You Awards?
I met him at the Thank You Awards, but I recognised him because I'd seen him on the TV talking about his story with organ donation and how his wife, bless him, years ago had passed away, and only a few weeks before that had they discussed organ donation. So we knew what to do, and he's a big advocate for that and having that conversation, because that's not the thing you want to be doing when your loved one's just passed away, saying, oh, do you mind if we take their eyes or their liver or whatever? So he's just brilliant. I recognised him straight away when he started talking about it. So I'm a big fan of Mahmood Nawaz.
And he's big on social media too, and like you say, absolutely kind of talks very well and very passionately around organ donation. But yeah, we touched on there the Thank You Awards, so annual awards at Sheffield Teaching Hospitals to thank our staff for the amazing things that they do. And you came along and kind of hosted it and kind of added the glamour and kind of pizzazz to the night. What stood out for you that evening in terms of being amongst? So, 'cause the room was full, we were at the Cutler's Hall and full of all our staff. What vibe did you get from being
What
there?
stood out for me was your gold jacket that I've heard that you're, do we say famous or notorious?
Yeah. I
don't know which way it is, really. I love doing stuff like that because I feel like my biggest hosting duties, the ones that I get booked for the most, are always hospital related, because you have so many different ones that are brilliant. But the Thank You Awards, it was so well put together because you had videos and pictures and of these people and why they're so brilliant and why they were nominated and what they do around the hospital. And there was obviously a massive variation, so many different people doing amazing things. But I feel especially because hospitals literally save lives and keep people going and sort them out and stitch them back up and send them on their way, that these people, it's not just a job for them, it's a career, it's a lifestyle, isn't it? It's not just something you do 9 to 5 or working in retail. Sorry to people that work in retail, I have done it as well, but you know what I mean. It's just such an important job, and I think the amount of people that don't think they deserve any kind of recognition for what they're doing is amazing, and they come up and they get all shy and that sort of thing. But from the porters to the people that perform brain surgery, I know it's extremely cliche, but everybody's role is so important. And I know I talk an awful lot, but I love hearing people's stories and why they do what they do and what their personal connection to certain illnesses or ailments or reasons for doing what they're doing is. And I just love stuff like that. I love it, and it is glamorous as well.
And it is great. We say every year as an exec team, we kind of go along there. You kind of hear their stories, the people that you do know, people that you don't know. But then that feel in the room of everyone's, it is a competition as such, but there's genuinely no losers in there. They all celebrate one another. You hear, like you say, about some of the very specific niche services that we provide, the general volunteers that are there. It's just, and I presume kind of not working in the hospital, how's that feel coming in and seeing, gosh, these are some of the teams and the people and the breadth of types of roles that we have?
Well, it makes me realise that my job's not work, really, because you meet people that are actually doing something so important. But I really love it for that reason, because I enjoy hearing all the different stories, and everybody is so supportive, like you say. Everybody's always cheering on their colleagues and wanting them to be appreciated and to win this award and do all of that. It's really lovely. It's I always walk away from evenings like that feeling so humbled and happy to live in Sheffield, happy to have you guys ask me to get involved in the fit. It genuinely is such an honour, because I think, gosh, you're trusting me with reading out the names of this amazing person. If you go away and think, gosh, I love my life. I just feel so, and I feel very safe as well with the Northern and the Hallamshire, and I know I'm going to be looked after because these people are winning awards for what they're doing. Yeah,
and I would say this. I mean, I'm very proud of STH, but I think because we provide services for Sheffield, but for South Yorkshire, for Yorkshire, for the country, we are very fortunate and unusual in the complexity of the care that we provide, national, international experts, and then fantastic people that go out into people's homes and provide wonderful care. So let's play a couple of, I'm as proud as you are. A couple of songs we'll play. It's a World Cup final. Have you been watching much of the World Cup?
Oh, well, until we got knocked out, and then I thought, I can't be bothered with this anymore, which is not the way that it should be. You need to watch to the end, but I don't know. I feel like Spain are amazing. Argentina got the better of us the other night. Spain will probably win.
Yeah, I think I'll be rooting for Spain. Are you going to watch tonight? I'm in two minds, but I think I feel obliged having watched.
What time is it on? 10 o'clock
I think
or
it's
something?
10 o'clock,
past my bedtime, that Michael. You know me. Do you know when I'm working normally and I'm getting up at 3:30? Guess what time I go to sleep?
I was going to test you that. I don't know, 8 o'clock, is it?
7.
7?
7, yeah.
I feel like being a 6-year-old again.
Big time, yeah, but I love it. I
you
get
have to
all
be disciplined.
Yeah, but you're so tired from getting up at 3:30. You can't wait to get into bed at 7 o'clock. The only thing is you're meant to digest your food properly before you try and sleep, and you can't really do that unless you eat at 4 o'clock.
And how's that work? Because kind of in a relationship, because I presume you've got different, and we have it for our staff. They work different shifts and night shifts and things like that. So that kind of how you get that compatibility and coordination across the week. And then I presume you get to a weekend and do stay up late, do you?
Oh, we're ships in the night, especially with Jordan's job. So he trains at Ponsforge. He was at the last Olympics. He came 5th in diving, and he's just amazing. You know, you talk about sort of discipline. Well, he's got a 6-pack and he eats food that I cook him, which isn't always very healthy, but he's the one with the discipline to exercise like that and to train your body in that way is just amazing. But because of that, he's working all day. I'll get back home about 1:30. He rolls in about 4:30 or something like that. We literally have half an hour, catch up on our day, make dinner. I have a shower. I come back down, sit for half an hour. Usually we're both just on our phones though, which isn't very healthy. And then I say, right, night, Jordan. And that is the only time. And when I wake up at 3:30, my alarm goes off and I'm leaving the room. He always sticks his arm out and says, have a good day. And that's our only interaction. The weekend, we're like, oh, we've got a boyfriend and a girlfriend. This is so amazing, you know?
Normal life.
Yeah.
Right, I'm going to play us a couple of songs and then we'll talk about celiac disease. But as I understand it, because obviously with it being in the US, we've got a big halftime show coming up on the World Cup tomorrow, and Justin Bieber and Shakira are there, so I thought I'd play us a couple of them.
For all the times that you go and love yourself.
That was Justin Bieber. Now, don't forget, you can listen again to this interview that I've had with Ellie by going onto our Facebook page for Sheffield Hospital Radio and looking at Reels. And as I said last week, we're now on Spotify. So go on Spotify, yep. We're on there, so all my previous interviews with Kirsten Major, our chief exec, with Kate Botley, someone else off the radio, with our A&E team, our environmental sustainability team. Check them out. They're all about 30, 40 minutes long. Absolutely perfect if you're on the bus into work or on the way home. But we are trying to venture out into social media. So, Ellie, you're the social media queen, and you've been posting this morning. So.
This is it. Listen, you can also follow us on Sheffield Hospital Radio, and Michael has got his very own Instagram called Sheffield Hospital Radio _Michael. So make sure that you go and say hello. I'm also on Instagram at Ellie Colton, and we've got a beautiful picture of me and Michael looking very excited before we've come to talk to you today.
Brilliant. Let's have a bit of Shakira and then we'll come on back. Shakira, who'll be at the World Cup final tomorrow. Unfortunately, we won't be, but
no.
Maybe next time.
No, I don't think so.
So I hope that kills you. So, Ellie, we talked in the first hour about kind of the increasing of awareness that you've done so fantastically well around endometriosis, but celiac disease is the other thing. And one of the things you've talked about is that real challenge in that perception about it's not a fad diet.
Yeah.
So tell us about celiac disease and how that impacts you and your campaigning to support people. I
hope that in the future, Michael, if it doesn't work out on Radio Sheffield, that this is a good job interview for me, because I can talk about celiac, and I've also spoken about my dad's got young onset Alzheimer's as well. We might have time to get onto that. Yeah, I don't know if we will. We talk so blooming much, don't we? But yeah, celiac disease, so affects 1 in every 100 people in the UK, but about 64% of people with the condition aren't even diagnosed because it gets dismissed or misdiagnosed as IBS or problems with joints. Maybe you get sent to rheumatology because it creates joint swelling, bloating, problems like that. They might say, oh, well, maybe just don't drink milk, that kind of situation. But it's where you can't eat wheat, gluten, barley, rye or oat. So, you know, the free from section in the supermarkets, that's where I like to live, although you can find bargains elsewhere because it's incredibly expensive. A loaf of bread for me is like £4.20. Wow. I know it's a disgrace, isn't it? But I have to say, I had Osgood-Schlatter's disease when I was younger, which is where basically your knees don't form properly because your bones or your muscles are growing at different rates. And when I was going to rheumatology and I was getting all this swelling, they said, oh, you might have something called a Baker's cyst, or you've got junior idiopathic arthritis, all these different things. And then one day somebody said to me, have you ever been tested for celiac disease? I was like, no, what is that? And it's because if you have joint pain or vitamin deficiencies, it is a sign of celiac disease. I felt sick every morning after I ate my Cocoa Pops. All the brands are available. And I didn't understand why. And my mum was thinking it was milk, and I was getting, you know, I always say it wrong. It's called something like dermatitis herpetiformis, the gluten rash, all these different symptoms. The enamel on my teeth is pretty much sharp. My teeth are going to fall out one day, but, you know, I'm sure I'll be able to get some dentures somewhere. All these different problems, you know, really, really bendy nails, things like that, and low calcium, low iron, low vitamin D. And eventually they said, oh, you're going to have an endoscopy. And I was all frightened. And it was really hilarious because I had the endoscopy. And then unfortunately, and I love the hospital, this isn't a slight on them, but it came back inconclusive because they'd squished my biopsies in the lab by accident, which doesn't usually happen, so don't panic about that. And I had such a positive experience with the gastro team at Sheffield Hospitals. So I went back, had another one. And then I had Professor Sanders, who is the gold standard of celiac doctor in the UK. He's worldwide renowned. We're so lucky to have him here. Said, yeah, you've got celiac disease, which is where in your small intestine you have these little things called villi that stand up like lines and they absorb all the nutrients. Well, somebody with celiac disease, when they eat gluten, the villi in the intestine and the whole immune system, because it's an autoimmune condition, attacks itself and gives you all these different symptoms like the nausea, like the physical sickness, like the rash, the joint swelling, the stomach, and of course stuff no one wants to talk about. I'll only say this word once, diarrhea. Sorry, I just have to, we're a medical station so we can get it out there. Or the other side, constipation. Nobody wants to talk about it. It's just a fact of life, unfortunately, or blood where there shouldn't be, that kind of situation. And then the first thing I said to my mum is, oh, please can I have one last cheeseburger from McDonald's? It's so hilarious, the things that you miss, you know, and you think, oh, I'm never going to be able to get a drunk kebab on a night out. And everything's so... You have to be so careful with celiac disease. And then I had Nick Trott, the dietitian, who I'm also a huge fan of, wedding DJ on the side, the coolest dietitian in the whole of the UK, who just was so patient with me and took me through everything and said, you know, it's not about not just eating gluten. And by the way, it can be hidden in all sorts, like soya sauce and icings, hundreds and thousands. Coatings on meat, in sauces, in crisps, biscuits, cakes, and it's flour. He said it's also cross-contamination, so you can't be having the same butter or the same saucepans as somebody who's just cooked, you know, pasta in it, or they've just stuck their toasty knife back in. You need a different toaster, you've got to be careful in the oven. So many different things, but I had such a positive experience with the gastro team, I cannot tell you. So really, even though I had to have 2 endoscopies, I just loved the process of being diagnosed, and I love talking about it because people do think it's a fad condition or a bit of a joke, or it's an allergy, and it's not, because it's an autoimmune condition. So the symptoms, you feel like you've got flu if you get gluten by accident. It's really that severe. People think it's it's an allergy, it's a sensitivity, it's an intolerance, it's this, that. No, it's an autoimmune condition and it affects 1 in every 100 people.
And so how hard is it living with it in terms of that, looking at your diet, all those cross-contamination things? Is it something that you can completely manage, or you can manage it to a tolerable level? I kind of walk quickly down the free from aisle at
Well, it's so
Sainsbury's.
small.
Well, that's but getting bigger, which is fantastic.
It is,
but it's still half an aisle amongst 40 or something.
Yeah.
So how and that's not even then talking about going to the kebab shop or the restaurant.
I got diagnosed at 60 and I'm 28 this year, so it's been a long enough time to get my head around it. However, other people's understanding is the biggest issue for me. They think it's not a serious issue. Oh, you'll get a bit of tummy ache. Oh, a crumb won't hurt. And actually, if you look at the celiac disease website, if you speak to Sanders, if you speak to Trott, they'll tell you a crumb is enough to set off that autoimmune response and really make you so devastatingly poorly. And it isn't just, an hour, I'll have a bit of a grumbly tummy, I'll have a bad experience on the loo and that's it. It's not like that. It can last for days. And actually having an autoimmune condition as well, it just means that you're more susceptible to any kind of illness. It's really awful. But for me, that is the biggest problem, is other people not understanding. I can control it in my own house. Me and my boyfriend both eat gluten-free. He eats his biscuits because he thinks that the gluten-free ones are dry, but some of them are actually all right nowadays. And gluten-free's come on so much. Yeah. I mean, they had to put bread in the microwave in the 90s, didn't they, to make gluten-free bread. It came in this certain weird way. And I am lucky that I'm diagnosed now and not in the 70s or something, because there wouldn't really be a choice to be able to do it. You just have to deal with it, which is horrific, because you're more likely to get bowel cancer, osteoporosis, intestinal cancer if you have undiagnosed celiac disease, fertility problems as well, which you might not know. So really, the biggest risk for me is going around somebody's house and they've made something and I've not watched them make it, and they're like, oh, don't worry, I promise. And it's like, I have no idea. If you're a gluten-eating household, then you will have stuck a spoon in this and whatever. And I now, at the age I am, say, oh, I'm really sorry, but I'm not going to be able to eat that because I've not seen you make it. Whereas before, maybe when I was 20, I'd have been like, all right, I'll try it. And then you suffer the consequences. Or you go to a restaurant, is it gluten-free? Yeah, it's gluten-free. Oh, but we do stick our chips and onion rings in the same fryer. And you're like, well, I can't have that. Okay, I promise this is totally gluten-free. You eat it. And then you're like, within half an hour, you start feeling it. And you're like, my gosh. But you're too nervous to say anything, which is so wrong, because people might think you're trying to get a free meal, but you're not. So I don't, other than pho, it's a Vietnamese place in Orchard Square in Sheffield, PHO. It is 98% gluten-free. So if it's date night, if it's anniversary, if it's birthday, if it's anything, I say, Jordan, please can we go to pho? Thank you. Because I know I'm safe there. Yeah. And then I don't have to worry about it, because it's always in the back of your mind, like, it's more than just a dietary issue. It's a whole lifestyle problem. You know, everybody has to eat food every day to survive. So if that's compromised, or you've got to check the back of every packet and not just have wheat in it, but may contain as well. It's all consuming. And I really wish I didn't have it. And I wish there was more of a treatment pathway than please eat gluten-free. Like, come on, can we have a tablet and eat a McDonald's burger? That's the aim, I hope. But they do a lot of research into celiac disease, whereas they don't with endo.
Yeah.
So I do stuff on celiac disease sometimes, and their awareness month is May, and I will definitely do some more next year. But that's why I bang the drum more about endo. But who knows, there might be some celiac disease videos coming out my kitchen very soon. You might have inspired me, Michael.
Well, and I think so, because I think that raising awareness, you as a kind of an approachable individual, because I kind of, listening to you, I realise how much I take for granted. I might think, well, I'll not eat a very hot curry because I know that might have an impact on me. But I don't have to worry about going around a stranger's house.
Yeah.
Not that I wouldn't go and eat a burger or something.
What did you on the weekend?
Yeah, just go and turn up at random people's house. So that is kind of that raising awareness. And again, like you say, we don't like to talk about periods. We don't like to talk about diarrhea.
Yeah.
So kind of you having those conversations must really be bringing that conversation and allowing people to think, gosh, is that me? Is that why I have the condition?
Break the taboo and talk about it. And back to celiac for a moment. The other thing that people take for granted is that if you go to Tesco, Sainsbury's, wherever you're going, I don't know where you shop, Waitrose if you're lucky, then you'll have all these options for 25 different sandwiches and wraps. Food on the go is a no-no for me. I'm not just going to be able to go into a cafe and get a cake or go into the supermarket and get a sandwich, because those options, though it is growing on the free from aisle, they're not readily available. You have to pre-plan everything. Or if I'm going somewhere, like I went to London and Leeds last week, which was very exciting for me because I don't usually travel out of the office, but I know that there's an M&S there that does one gluten-free sandwich, and I thought, so I'll be all right. But you have to pre-plan everything. But in terms of taboo, yes, we don't like talking about the mucky stuff, if you will. And maybe I shouldn't even call it that because it's reinforcing it, isn't it? But I think it's because it's so normal. And I'll go back to it. Kim Kardashian poos. We just need to get over it. Kim Kardashian has a period. You just have to get over it. And gosh, it's like when we all go to hospital and we're going, I'm full disclosure, I'm going for a colonoscopy next week, right? And I had tried to have one before, but because I'd just done it with gas and air, if you've got endometriosis, this is something that you might not know. It's incredibly painful. So I'm booked back in with sedation. But again, that was something I wasn't told because that knowledge isn't there. I had to sort of, not Google doctor it, if you will, thinking why? And there's so many reports that if you've got endometriosis, it's so much more painful because you've got all these raw nerve endings and they're banging around in there. But colonoscopies aren't painful, so don't be scared about going for one. And I am booked back in, just want to put that out there. But because I've got all these digestive issues that are still going on, and I just blame it on different conditions. And I'm like, well, my sister's got colitis, so what if it is something else? You've got to investigate and be a trooper of your own health. But I think you've just got to talk about it. It's so normal. You go and have your colonoscopy and you're apologising for pulling your pants down. Well, how else are they going to get up there? They see it every day. Doctors are so used to it, and it's not like you're having open heart surgery. You just wearing a bit of an embarrassing pinny, but they're not going to be writing on Facebook about what you look like down there afterwards because they get sacked. So just enjoy the experience and talk about it more. I'll probably post about talking about my colonoscopy next week, and I think people will be a bit shocked about that. But it's just normal, isn't it?
It is in the hospital. These are clinicians diagnosing, treating, talking about it. Absolutely. But I think you're absolutely right. We find it difficult. People struggle with the terminology. The more we talk about it, the easier it becomes, the more likely people are to get go and seek help and talk about help and find other people in a similar condition that then they can get advice and learn from.
Think about all the people. Men are especially bad for this. I'm sure you can vouch for that community, Michael. They are so embarrassed that they don't go to the doctors for anything. God forbid they had something on the downstairs region or a stomach ache that they put off and then turns out they've got cancer. I mean, prostate cancer is a big one. My dad's got prostate cancer, but it's a manageable cancer to have if it's lower level, right? So you go for your PSA test or they're scared to get a finger up in that region, but you can just do it via a blood test these days. But men, they put things off and they think it's nothing to worry about, or they're embarrassed about where it is or having blood in in your poo or something like that. It's not normal. You have to treat your health, your mental health, your sexual health, everything just as important as each other. And you have to advocate for that, because if somebody can't see it like, oh, Michael, your eye doesn't look very good, you should go to the hospital, they're not going to see what happens when you go to the toilet. You have to just go, and you're not being a nuisance. And yes, there's crazy waiting lists and bad stories that get thrown about the NHS, but they save lives. Absolutely. But you have to be the first person to go and advocate.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, we'll come back and talk a bit more. Gosh, we're nearly through the second hour. We've got another request in from Rebecca. Do you want to introduce her song?
Hello, Rebecca. Lovely to hear from you. She's a patient at Jessup. She says, please can you play for me and my husband, James, a Dancing Queen by ABBA. Please play it for everyone in the hospital. I love it. I hope it gets you dancing. Well, here you go, Rebecca. I hope you're having a gorgeous start to your Saturday morning. It's Michael and Ellie with you on Sheffield Hospital Radio. And this is ABBA.
Britney Spears, well, I cannot believe it.
Cannot believe it, Michael.
I think I might need 4 hours like you to go through. But yeah, we're almost through the 2 hours. It's been absolutely fascinating. And the things we've talked about, we've never talked about on my show before, but which is great. I was telling you in the break, we've got the sexual health team coming on later this year, and it is really important, and part of this is about being able to talk about our health and encouraging people to get the right care. So no, it's been absolutely fantastic. And I know another area that's you're really passionate about is Alzheimer's and dementia. You're supporting the Red Shoe Walk that's coming up at Meadow Hall at the beginning of August.
Yes, I'll be hosting it, so see you there, Michael. It's on the 2nd of August this year at Meadow Hall, the Red Shoe Walk. And it is a walk with those affected by dementia, because the family are just as affected as the person, if not more. My own experience, my grandma, she lived 2 weeks shy of 98. Didn't develop dementia until she was 94. She broke her hip at 92, and the hospitals at the Northern General gave her a hip replacement. And the woman in the bed next to her was 104. So we were like, Grandma, stop being dramatic. She's 104. She's not dying, because they all think they're going to die there, don't they? Don't worry, that's not going to happen. People come in their 90s and have a hip replacement and leave. So don't you be worrying about yourself or anything like that. But my Dad, unfortunately, started acting a little bit strangely, if you will, developed OCD, but became very agitated and forgetful at the same time at the age of about sort of 50, 57. And then he got put on the waiting list for the memory clinic. And then by 59, he got diagnosed with young onset Alzheimer's, which I didn't think was a thing for people at the age of 59. And you start worrying about, well, I'm not married yet. Come on, Jordan, where's my ring? I don't know if I'm going to be having kids in the next few years. And unfortunately, with young onset Alzheimer's, it progresses much quicker than your bog standard regular Alzheimer's with your 80-year-olds, if you will. So we are a year in. He celebrated his 60th in April, and we are going to just enjoy the next 4 years, go on loads of holidays. I'm not saying it's the 5-year cut-off point, if you will, but you've got to really take advantage when he can still look after himself somewhat and have a conversation, because you know where it's going, unfortunately. And it's the biggest killer, isn't it? Dementia and Alzheimer's of adults in the UK. So I know that there's a lot that needs to be done in terms of research, and he's going to do some trials. But yes, we support the Red Shoe Walk and raise some money for dementia in the Sheffield hospitals as well.
And the Red Shoe Walk, so I presume is what it says on the tin. So walk in red shoes around Meadow Hall for fundraising and raising awareness.
Yeah, well, you don't have to wear red shoes, but you can wear the Red Shoe Walk T-shirt. It's called that because there was a lady who was speaking about how her dementia, as it progressed, it was memories would be triggered by certain items, and for her, it was these red shoes that she saw, and it took her back, and it sort of brought her back to the present for a moment, because obviously when you've got dementia, your mind wanders and you don't feel like you're really here sometimes, do you? So, for example, my red shoe moment, if you will, would probably be driving in the car with my dad when he used to take us on caravan holidays every May. If somebody brought that to me, I'd be like, right, I'm there, like I can remember things now. So we're going to walk all the way round Meadowhall. It's not a very long walk. All these people with dementia and the families of those with dementia just walk round. It probably takes about 40 minutes to an hour, and we'll just have a laugh on the way round. And all these people have been fundraising as well, raising £50+ for the Red Shoe Walk, and that money will go to help dementia care.
That's amazing. And what date is it again? Remind us again.
2nd of August. See you there.
See you down Meadowhall. So we'll play our penultimate song. We've got our final request in. Do you want to do that, Ellie? And then we'll have one final wrap up before the news.
Hello and good morning to Brad and Stu, Jan and Kevin listening in the Northern General this morning. They say, please can you play us something from Ed Sheeran? Well, yeah, but it's got to be an upbeat one, hasn't it, lads? This is Rudimental featuring Ed Sheeran, Lay It All On Me.
Well, Ellie, it's been an absolute privilege having you.
Well,
I hope I've not embarrassed myself with my DJ skills in front of you, but it has been brilliant. Thank you for coming and kind of talking so openly about you and kind of the work that you're doing to raise awareness.
Thank you, Michael. It has been an absolute hoot. I've enjoyed every moment, and hopefully it's not the last time that we're on the radio together, because I've really enjoyed this experience. But absolutely, it's important to talk about things that impact your life, because you don't know if other people are struggling with symptoms in silence, or they've been unfortunately dismissed or misdiagnosed. If you know that there's something up with your body, you need to go to the doctors, and you need to keep being persistent. We don't abuse people, we don't beat them up, but we are persistent and we are stern. We know our bodies, and we have to explain that an awful lot. So absolutely, if you're taking anything from today, hopefully it is trust your body. And people, especially men, if something's bothering you, because I know we've spoken about endometriosis and you can't get endometriosis, but we've mentioned prostate cancer and Alzheimer's as well. If something's bothering you, you need to go to the doctor. Stop thinking you'll be able to sweat it out or get over it. So that's really important. But yes, I will see you another time, I'm sure. Otherwise, I'll be on BBC Radio Sheffield every weekday, 6 a.m. till 10 a.m.
Yeah, Brill. Well, listen out absolutely for Ellie, and thank you. And listen in next week, I've got Sheba, who's our nurse director and an internationally educated nurse director for South Yorkshire Regional Services on next week. But for everyone else, thank you ever so much. We'll see you next time. And Ellie, you'd asked for a bit of Nick Kershaw. Yeah. You said you like the 80s. So you'll be at Tramlines next weekend?
I will. I'll be DJing on the Library stage on the 24th, the Friday, 6:45 to 7:15 in the evening, which is late for me. And I interviewed Nick Kershaw last week. He's a lovely man, just so everyone knows.
Have a great week.